The purpose of this video is to explain how to export the Expert Mart catalog or products to the Amazon web store. One of the first things that would be important to note for this, and we're assuming here that you've been documented on the actual style info catalog and what the fields mean there. So this just has to deal with the export process. But under configure, we have configure web store configure. And if we go from the left side all the way towards the bottom on the left side, we will see Amazon General. Under Amazon General, the key fields is we have the top three fields here. Your merchant identifier, which you get from Expert Mart, your AWS access key ID, and your secret key. All three of those will be needed to be added in here for this to be able to communicate directly with Amazon I believe it's called AWS and Amazon directly in an automatic fashion. There is another thing here, the export directory, we'll look at that at the end, is where the files that are generated are stored. So once you have that there, let's go in and look real quick at the catalog styles, style info. In the style info catalog, again, you should be familiar with these fields and how they're used in general, but just for the export process, the key fields are going to be these four check boxes here at the bottom. You have a check box that says export product. That refers to all of the product description for the styles and the items. Export prices, pretty obvious what we have prices. Export stock is the amount in inventory. We'll look at the way to adjust that as we go through the demo. But then export photos is, there's a couple of different ways to export photos, but whichever way you choose, this determines whether this style info record is one of the ones that's going to be exported or not. One other note here is you may want to be doing global changes. So if I clear the screen to global changes, you'll notice that the default option for these check boxes is that they're checked. That is because when we add a new product, normally we're going to want to export all these. But if we want to actually do a global change to check a box, then we need to, after we clear the screen, we want to uncheck and recheck that box. That way Expert Mart takes note that we're going to want a change in that, and when we do a global change, it will change all records. So the first step of the export usually is going to be clear all your previous export flags. And to do that, obviously, you would uncheck all of these. So go through with a global change and clear all your previous export flags, and that way you set in what you actually want to export. If you're adding new products, it might be good before adding the new products to remove all the export flags, add new products, and as you add them, make sure the four or whichever one of these exports you're going to want to do are checked. So that is one of the first parts of the export process. Then if we come along here to processes, we go to web store processes, we have a process called export to Amazon. So we click on that, and as we click on that, we get first of all the merchandise selector, the expert query as a merchandise selector. Aside from what's in the style info catalog and the check boxes, here we could pick, again, using all of the features of the merchandise query, which is documented in other places in the system, the options of maybe I just want to do women's shoes or men's shoes, or whatever options I want to pick, or for a certain vendor or whatever. Especially if we have an extensive catalog, then this would be a way to further select what gets exported. If, as I'm going to do right now, you do OK, then it's going to export everything that has check marks. Then we come to this control box, which is pretty key. Let me go down through and explain these fields. The first one says Purge Web Store. Purge Web Store, what it would do is say erase everything on your Amazon store. Now, Amazon is going to have a safety net there, and if you give that command, they're going to email you and say, hey, are you sure you want to erase everything? That's pretty dramatic. And it will stop all your XML feeds until you correspond with them and say, yes, do purge, or no, that was a mistake, don't purge. So this one only used in very extremely rare circumstances. The next checkbox has to do with parent records. Amazon, in its web store, calls the records parents and child records. The parent record is what in Expert Mart we call a style. The child records in Expert Mart we call items. Parent records don't have stock and necessarily prices. They have a description, photo, and so forth. But it's the child records that then have sizes and colors and actual merchandise. Sometimes we want to maybe just do the child records if we're doing a stock export or prices export, and we don't want to do the parent records. When we got totally new products, obviously we do want to export the parent records. So that little checkbox is going to determine for all that's exported whether it includes parent records or not. And then there's some fields on the parent records that we can choose to export or not export, which is export the title. If we check it, it does get exported on all of these. If we don't check it, it does not. Export descriptions, export bullet points, export search terms, export style keywords, export platinum keywords. And then we come down to stock. If we're exporting stock, we have a quantity subtract from stock. So we might want to have a safety margin. Let's say our system says we have 2 items, but maybe they'll be sold simultaneous to what they're on the web store. Maybe we assume that at a given moment our stock could be off by 1 or 2 pieces. So if, for example, we put say 5 in here, then if the stock says 5, it's not going to show up on Amazon. On Amazon, it'll show up as 0. If our stock says 6, it would only show 1 on Amazon. So it's a safety margin for the stock. Once we've set that, which will be again for the whole export, we can say yes, and then it begins the actual preparing and executing the query, and after that we'll see it goes to exporting the inventory. That takes a while depending on the size of your database, maybe a minute, maybe up to 5 minutes. Again, that's going to depend on the size of your total database and especially the style info catalog. But we're going to sit here. I'm going to go ahead and actually pause this while that executes and then come back in once it's done. Once that query is done, like I say, it may take a few moments. Then you will be asked several questions, and depending on that is what's going to be uploaded to Amazon. It's prepared the XML files, and since it has the key, the security keys it needs to communicate directly with Amazon, it can do that. So the question right here then is, do you want to upload the product feed to Amazon, which would be the product descriptions in XML format? And you can say yes and it will upload it, or no, and if you don't want to upload that, say maybe you just want to upload stock, or maybe you just want to upload photos. That's why here you can say no, I don't want to upload, in this case, the product feed. It's automatic generated but does not have to be uploaded. If you're going to upload the product feed, unfortunately Amazon takes a while. It does these in batch format. So the suggestion is that you would, if you're going to upload that, you would say yes. I'm going to say no in this case, but if you said yes, I would wait 10 minutes to allow that XML feed to get along on its way and for the system to start processing the product feed, because it's going to need the product feed for the rest of the feeds to make sense. The next feed that you're asked if you want to upload is the relationship feed. When you've added a new product, the relationship feed basically says this parent record has these child records. For each child record, this is the parent record. So again, if you want to upload that, then you just click yes on it. And I would suggest, once you click yes on that, waiting 5 minutes before you proceed to the next feed. You can just let that sit on the screen. But then we're going to say here, in my case, no, because this is just a demo. And then, do you want to upload the XML prices feed to Amazon? Again, maybe all you wanted to do was upload some new prices, and you've said no to the first 2 feeds, but you come along and say, yes, I do want to upload prices. Or maybe you just want to change descriptions, and you don't want to change prices. So you answer yes or no. In this case, because it's a demo, I'm going to say no. But again, I would suggest waiting 5 minutes after that feed to make sure at least it gets along in a quaid in the order that it's going out, and not get one feed getting ahead of the other one just because of the way that Amazon handles these feed. And then finally, well, not finally, but what you have here, do you want to upload the XML inventory feed to Amazon? That is the quantities. And it may be very often that you want to upload the inventory feed and not all the other feeds, so you may be saying no, 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 and come along and say yes to this. So again, if you say yes to this feed, then you can go ahead and click this. You could, and I guess I said after prices feed wait 5 minutes, but probably that's not necessary, because once the products are there and the relationships are set, then I feel that it could process the inventory feed and the prices feed simultaneously. But do you want to upload the XML inventory feed to Amazon? In this case, again, it's a demo. I'm going to say no. And then finally, do you want to upload the XML images feed to Amazon? And again, because it's a demo, I'm going to say no. But maybe you wanted to go in and redo 5 images of 5 styles. You would go in the Style Info catalog, clear out all the check marks, just put the check marks for export photo on those 5 styles, run through this whole process, and on all the feeds you say no till you get to the image feed, and this uploads the images. But in any case, I'm going to say no, but you could say yes. And that is how ExpertMart would, all those different feeds, send them up to Amazon. And now I want to show you that that is an automatic way, which is very nice. But ExpertMart puts, we specify a folder, and we've put main export, and there's a folder. It's always going to be in an Amazon folder. And here we can see it creates both CSV files and XML files. If you notice, these are all, well, you don't know the date here, but all of these are of today's date, which is 2/3/14 in the time. So every time we go through, it's going to generate all the files. The questions about uploading them is whether they're uploaded or not. They're kept here, and if you wish, then later these could be manually updated. The CSV files would be uploaded directly from Seller Central. The XML files would have to be uploaded via the Scratchpad in Amazon, if you know how to operate that. And going back to my web export folder, if you notice, just for historical reasons, sometimes what I do is just on the Amazon put the date after it, and I have filed away different uploads that have been made on different dates in case you want to go back and grab those files. So with that, that concludes the explanation of the export of the ExpertMart catalog to Amazon.